Matthew, do you agree with NASCAR's call to penalize Bell for riding the wall?
Well, first off, thank you guys for having me again, second week in a row. Just finished the story for the most part. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't really agree with it. And I know it's a little controversial to say. The way you look now, I mean, first it took 30 minutes to decide, right? I think that was silly. And then second, the precedent, I guess, what Chastain said, I don't think you can really look at that when it comes to what happened with Bell. Because Chastain decided going into 3 and 4, or 3 and 4, I should say, he was going to full throttle and ride the wall. What happened with Bell is there's a Bubba Wallace who complained 2 laps earlier that I think I have a tire going down, and he starts doing like the little wiggle waggle thing. So clearly there's an issue, and obviously there was a stack up before with the lap cars. You can see that's when Byron, Chastain, and Dillon all went down, and I believe it was Justin Haley behind Bubba. So then here comes Bell, and Bell just, I mean, I don't know if he tried to make the corner or not. He drove in way too far, and he bounced off the wall. And this is a split-second decision. He's a race car driver. He's not a wannabe race car driver. He's a real race car driver. And he decided in this moment he needs to keep the spot. He's going to bounce off the wall and then full throttle. I don't think you can say he rode the wall all the way, and it's not the same thing as Chastain's. So when you look at how NASCAR decided to penalize Bell for it, when they just reported too post-race that they didn't look into anything that went on with the Chevrolet camp when we heard the Austin Dillon audio, and which I know we're going to touch on that in a little bit, so I won't go too into that. But the whole Chastain and Dillon behind Byron, nobody got around the brick wall for the last 10 laps of the race. But Bell's the only thing that got looked at, and that's the only penalty that comes about. So that's why it just doesn't sit right with me personally, the way this ended. I think we saw a great race that we don't even know. Blaney won. Great for him. He was I think he was 8th or 7th coming into this besides Elliott, and he needed the win in, and he got in. But nobody's going to really look at that. Everyone's going to look at this controversy that happened, just like what happened in 2022 when Chastain rode the wall. But the thing is, Christopher Bell won that race. So I guess it bites him here, for a lack of a better term. But I really want to hear what you guys say. I know I might be on the oddball out, but that's just how I feel about them deciding to penalize Bell here.
Matthew Breault, good to see you again, but I respectfully disagree. And I think you can look at this, and it's not apples to apples, but I don't think it's apples to oranges either. What Ross Chastain did 2 years ago, what Christopher Bell did today. Christopher Bell didn't go into turns 3 and 4 with the intention of riding the wall, but he certainly overdrove the corner. And once he hit the wall, he certainly didn't try very hard, or didn't try hard enough at least, to pull himself off of the wall and mash the throttle and get to the start-finish line, because he knew he needed all the positions he could get. Ultimately ended up being tied, have a tiebreaker. NASCAR made a decision to send him back, I think, from 18th to 22nd or something like that. Lost him those 4 points, lost him a championship 4 spot. Ultimately, I think even though the decision was made mid-corner rather than being completely premeditated like Ross Chastain's was, I still think you have to call that a penalty, because the rule was made very clear, black and white, 2 years ago, or the offseason 2 years ago at least. I know, there was discussion for an entire month. What's NASCAR going to decide? Is this a safety sort of issue? Does it compromise the integrity of the sport, like Kyle Larson was saying? Maybe it does. I don't know. But ultimately, they made the decision that I predicted they were going to make. You cannot ride the wall at a track where it might give you an advantage. And ultimately, in this situation here, given what was on the line for Christopher Bell, I do agree with NASCAR's decision. I think what happened tonight was a complete farce, and we'll get into what kind of look this is for the playoffs here later on in this segment. But I will give NASCAR credit where it's due. I think they did the best job that they could, minimizing the damage here, minimizing the bad look that this is objectively for them. Because Matthew, to your point, I do agree with your point on Ryan Blaney. We should be talking about what a great drive he had. We should still be on the emotional high of what Tyler Reddick did last week. We've had some great racing here in this round. And unfortunately, the chaos and controversy that this system provides, and that I guess some fans love, some fans seem to love to hate. You're looking at one right here. It leaves us every single year, it seems, at some point during these 3 rounds, or even after a championship race like we saw in the Truck Series last year, where we're talking about that chaos and controversy ahead of the race winner or the championship contenders. And that, to me, is the biggest tragedy in all of this.
Now, one of the things a lot of people talking about, the spirit of the rule versus the intent of the rule. Bob Pockris posted, the safety rule 10.5.2.6, there is no central written rule about wall riding. So I know we have a comment in the chat room here. The rule is you can't advance your position. He already had the spot. This rule doesn't even have a procedure in the rule book saying if they maintain or gain a position, how it's interpreted.
But if he
This
had
might-
scrubbed off enough speed to the point where he wasn't going to ride the wall, would he have lost the spot? See, that's something that needs to be considered as well. Because to me, if he's riding the wall to maintain the spot versus gain the spot, it's still for the same purpose, to get yourself into the championship four. That's the question, I think, there.